we go. Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Oberhuber, and my guest today is David Hoffmeister. Hi.
Hi there.
Nice to have you here.
Oh, it's great being here. Okay.
Yeah, let's start. Since we're so spontaneous, let's go into the depth of being in the moment, being now, and how A Course in Miracles sees that and how we can live that in our lives.
Well, I think it is a moment where we have released our self-concept goals that were held in mind, which are just really goals from the past. So for me, the spontaneity of this moment is maintained and in a very effortless way when we don't have any other goals or purposes that are pulling on our mind and pulling us into the world. And by the world, I just mean the ego belief system. So to me, it's really what all perennial teachings have shared throughout the ages is just being present by having a goal, very deep goal for peace, and then just letting that peace just flow through in this moment.
Yeah, I like that. So you speak a lot about purpose, right? And you're saying purpose is peace and letting that inform the moment. I like that.
Yes, yeah. That's something that really spoke to me. That whether you call it forgiveness or you call it the Holy Spirit's perspective of looking at the world, it seems that that purpose is what has to be held up front, so to speak, and then everything is perceived as serving that purpose, and then there's no conflict. So to me, that is really the most important thing. I even uh, wrote a little booklet many years ago called "Purpose is the Only Choice," because I feel like the purpose that we serve is our choice every single moment.
Yeah, it's a very powerful thing to choose and to be able to choose and know that you have a choice. Because many
Yeah,
of us get stuck in the feeling that we have no choice. Everything is happening, and we are, so to speak, the ones who are on the receiving end. And A Course in Miracles is speaking a completely different language about that, which is very
yeah,
encouraging.
yes, yes. Very empowering, very empowering.
Yeah. When all these worries come up in one's mind, and you just follow through with this purpose, and it dissolves, I suspect, in the way you are experiencing it.
Yeah, I feel the real opportunity to really open to this purpose came when I was in my late 20s and I first encountered A Course in Miracles, and I could see that it was really a calling, like I was answering a calling in my mind, a calling in my heart to another way of living and another way of experiencing the world, very much like the original two students of the course, Bill Thetford and Helen Sheckman, kind of it all started with Bill saying there must be another way to live. And to me, that is the invitation that we have from God, from the Holy Spirit. And it opens us into an adventure that is very exhilarating as we surrender to it or as we align with it. And then as it carries us along, it becomes very clear that this is our pathway to God. This is our escape from time and space. And this is our way, in a very practical way. This is our way into the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, another big subject is equality. We all are equal. And I think that's a very important subject because the world, the way we have been taught or teaching ourselves, is all about specialness. And equality is the opposite of that.
Yes, yeah, that seems to be the core of all the practice, is to be able to look equally upon everyone and everything in the same presence, in the same grace, and with the same blessing. So I feel like that is our lead in learning to relax and not feel pushed or pressured to compete or to strive or to be better than, but it instead is an invitation to just relax and see that we're all the same. And the way that plays out in terms of the human race is that we are all equal, always have been equal, and always will be equal, regardless of whatever differences the ego has invented. We still remain equally the one presence of God. We are the Christ.
Yeah, that's a big one because of all the differences, like you mentioned, that we perceive and think often give the belief that it's real, right? And that it makes sense. And then you have all these comparisons that get in the way of your feeling equal to each other. And there's always this tendency, either you're less or you're more. For you to be equal is a very different perspective, and I love the way you're describing it.
Yeah, it is. It is very relaxing because I think our past conditioning has dictated that we compete and we strive and we try to find our worth in this world of form and time and space, and it tells us that we should be worthy based on what our education is, or our skills and abilities, or talents, or even achievements, like worldly achievements. It tells us that that's the name of the game. But all of those things don't really bring peace of mind and don't really lead to a sense of equality. Those pursuits, those ego goals, and that ego self-concept, it's always preoccupied with being better than someone else, or being more than someone else, and it's telling us that our worth is derived from all of those things. And then in A Course in Miracles, Jesus tells us that your your worth is established by God, and nothing you think or make or say or do is necessary to establish our worth. So to me, that shows a striking difference in what we're learning from Jesus in the Course. And it does seem to take a lot of faith and willingness to follow this pathway, because there seems to be lots of evidence from the past stacked against this clean, innocent perspective that we're talking about. And yet, I feel if we really put it first, if we put that as our priority, then it is shown to us as what is readily available, this Holy Spirit perspective. And it's really like the title of your show, that's where we find the curriculum of joy in this moment and in this purpose that the Holy Spirit has given us.
Yeah, I love the perspective that our value is established by God and cannot be made less or more by anything else. It is absolutely whole and complete.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's so contrary to what we are taught or teaching ourselves in the world of the past says, right? Like you said, it's like the whole past is steeped against it. Yeah, and you've written a few books already, and I was wondering how that process works for you with writing, because you obviously have this strong sense of being guided in your writing.
Well, most of the time I just travel and speak, and then I have people that have enjoyed listening to what was coming through me, and they have started transcribing the talks. And then, of course, it's a whole different process when you put it down into print. It takes a bit of focus and editing and clarity to really come through well on the written word. But that's basically the way the process has gone for me. That I basically am a teacher in terms of talking, and then the writing has come when I sit down to answer questions, to correspond with people, communicate with people, and then also to put the ideas in a presentable way so that they can be in books. And I really tried to put the whole process of forgiveness into the books so that people can have a lot of examples and also can get a deeper grasp of the metaphysics of A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, it's wonderful, because that allows people to see it ordered in a certain way so they can follow the process.
Yes, books are valuable that way. They've been very important to me in my journey.
Yeah, and mine as well. Yeah. Would someone want to ask a question? We have someone here. If not, I'll continue.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel that writing is a very, very important thing, or speaking is actually writing, in other words, the way it has been for you. And I feel that that's the way it is for many people, is that the spoken word is what leads to the written word. And yeah, this opportunity of having people ask questions actually lets it go very deep, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like the old Socratic dialogue where questions are welcome, and then just from the invitation and the joining, the dialogue just emerges. And I find, like you just said, it is a way of going very deep, and it does involve openness. So it's really quite delightful.
Yeah. Maybe we'd like to look at the perspective also that we are spirit that is always constantly whole, and how that affects our lives in the world.
Yes, spirit is equated with the I am presence. It's prior to time. So in one sense, I feel like our apparent journey through time and space as a human being, as a person in the world, is it seems to take on a surrender or a letting go. And as we move through uh, our journey to remember our true nature as spirit, then we just practice and practice and practice yet again, and start to feel really like it's coming through us, and it's showing itself to us in what we think and say and do, and we feel more aligned and we feel more expansive. And then I feel there are experiences we have, very expanded states of awareness that help us approach this glorious realization of self, which is I am spirit. And so we just gently give way to it every moment of every day until our mind is certain of its identity and certain of its essence of being pure spirit.
Yeah, you have described many such experiences that you've had in your audios, where you join with others or you had this deep mystical experiences. Would you like to describe one or the other here?
Yeah, I've had a number of vast experiences that seemed to still be perceptual, but the feeling was one of being very expanded and very all inclusive. And I did have a revelatory experience when I was down in the woods of Kentucky, where I was doing an open-eyed meditation with a friend of mine, and then as I became more and more relaxed and more still, the perception of of her and I sitting across from each other and just kind of gazing into each other's eyes, it kind of shifted more to it's almost like a flattening out, like a figure ground experience where everything seemed to merge and kind of flatten out first, and then this blazing light uh, just started streaming through the silhouette and the boundaries that were part of that flattened perception, and then the whole perception disappeared, and everything was just light. And so that felt to me what Jesus describes as a revelatory experience, where it was just a direct experience of the light or the great rays, Jesus calls it in the course. And it was just an experience of absolute perfect oneness where there were no questions, everything was completely known, everything was completely certain. And I had the feeling that what I had perceived as a world was just like a thin veil that was covering over reality. That reality was light, was pure light, and that the veil of perception had been pierced, it seemed, and then the veil was gone. So that was very powerful for me because these experiences occurred in the late 1980s for me, and they were so strong that it preceded my travels. It preceded my visits to see a Course in Miracles teacher from India named Tara Singh. It preceded my visits to the Catskill Mountains to spend time with Ken Wapnick and Gloria Wapnick. And it really preceded everything that was to come in my journey with the Course. But it left me with this experience of that my life was not my own, and that everything was just for this light and for remembering this light. So I think that experience of like a direct contact with God and with spirit was so important for me because after that I had more of a confidence, more trust, a much deeper faith, and it really helped me in my devotion to really practice the course, as fully as a life calling. And so I think that's the value of a mystical experience. It's just strengthens our trust in God, and it expands our faith, and that's very important on this inward journey.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that because it actually shows that there is a presence there that wants to enable us to have the full faith, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Another topic I'd like to look at is the idea of holiness in A Course in Miracles. That is not the same as when we say someone is a saint or someone is a sinner. It's something totally different, whether you'd like to expand on that.
Yeah, I think our holiness relates to the previous topic we explored, that I am spirit, and spirit is what creation is. If God is spirit and Christ is spirit and the Holy Spirit is spirit, then our holiness rests in a state of being. And it is different than when people talk about a holy person or a saint, where they describe oftentimes behaviors, or they may describe some of the actions and the worldly experiences that are part of being a saint. For example, with Mother Teresa, she had many decades of, as she said, working with the poorest of the poor, and she had a group of sisters that she worked with and lived with, and those are all equated with still our perceptions in the world. Whereas when Jesus is talking about holiness in the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles, he'll say things like, "My holiness blesses the world," or "There's nothing my holiness cannot do." And I think he's referring to holiness as synonymous with spirit, this power and this presence that comes from God, that is capable of all things, in the sense that it radiates a sense of grace and blessing to everyone and everything without exception. And that's what sets it apart from uh, the, the behaviors and the achievements in the world. For example, in the Catholic system, in Christianity, uh, to officially be regarded as a saint, you have to have verifiable miracles, and you have to. It's almost like you have to have evidence uh, in the world that you're a saint. It's like your resume to make it into sainthood. But holiness, in A Course in Miracles, as Jesus is teaching us, is is that presence of God and of love that's in us and that comes through us and blesses everything and everyone equally. So in that sense, it's a it's a state of mind. It's a quality of being spirit. It's a quality of being a perfect, innocent child of God. And that is a bit different than the way that the world looks upon saintliness, or so a holy person in that way.
Yes, that's very true. And yeah, it's also not exclusive. Everyone can take part of it, right? Or be the holiness, be one with the holiness. It's not something that is only you have to have achievements or anything like you said, right? You don't have to
Yeah,
prove anything to be
yeah, yeah,
to be part of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like to tell people that everyone is a saint in training. And so it turns it around, because they tend to think of saints as being like special people. And I say, well, I think we're all saints in training here, meaning we all we all have equal access to the holiness that God has given us, and it's just really being willing to line up and let that holiness express through us.
Yeah. Another point of a Course in Miracles that is very stunning is that no one is a sinner.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's very important, I think, in the sense that uh, that word sin and that word sinner is very much a part of a lot of religions, and it's it's seen as like an identity or something, and I like how Jesus says in the course that the one thing that you're absolutely incapable of doing is of sinning, of, of being a sinner, in the sense that he's saying that that sin has its root and is synonymous with separation. And the whole teaching of the Course is that separation is impossible. Separation ultimately cannot occur because it's not God's will. And so it can be believed in, but it isn't true. And so, in that sense, Jesus is teaching us the atonement, which is analogous to correction, is teaching us that the separation never happened. And if the separation never happened, then that must mean that sin is impossible. So he does use the word, and he does uh, give us another word from the English language that is so different than the ways that religions have looked at sin. He says that sin is an error to be corrected, and ultimately he teaches us that the Holy Spirit has already corrected the error. So it's not like we have to do something to be valued enough to receive this correction, but the correction's already there. We just have to accept it. So this is a very different picture of sin, and that's really why Jesus is not really uh, calling the child of God a sinner. He's just saying that there's been an error, a mistake, a tiny mad idea, and that mistake has already been corrected, and all you have to do is listen to the Holy Spirit and, in the sense, follow the Holy Spirit and merge with the Holy Spirit to remember your divine innocence, to remember that as a perfect child of God, it is impossible to sin.
And that's a very powerful, yeah, way way of explaining the Course in Miracles as well as a total thing, because that's the message. Yeah. So this remembering that A Course in Miracles is teaching us, remembering our equalness, our innocence, our holiness, our wholeness, our oneness. Yeah, it's so important. And you've been practicing this since a long time. Do you have any insights you'd like to follow up on?
Well, I feel what I've experienced is that it is a journey of trust that once I came in contact with the Course in Miracles back in 1986 out in Southern California near La Jolla, from that point when I read it for the first time and had this huge, very vast kind of love experience, then I would say that the key has been the development of trust. And And I would say that all of us have faith and all of us have trust, except we've put our faith in the ego and its beliefs in scarcity and lack and its belief in time, linear time. And for me, the journey has been this very authentic journey of experiences that the Course calls miracles, where each time I experienced a miracle, I was shown that I was sustained by God. I was sustained by the light, by this beautiful I am presence. And and each miracle has shown me that I can rely completely on this love and light. I need not look to the past and look to the world to be sustained. So I feel the whole life experience or the parable of David has been just showing me that I am sustained by God in all ways, in all seeming circumstances and situations, that if there's a word I need or if there's anything that I need to share and extend, it is given to me very easily and effortlessly. And it has felt for many years, this world has felt more like a fairy tale because in a fairy tale, things just seem to happen and things just seem to show up. And there's not all this discussion and analysis in the fairy tale about how how are we going to do this, or how will this work, or breaking things apart. I have found that as I hold my purpose out in front, then everything kind of just carries me, and I'm carried along in an effortless way. Very different from the previous life that I knew before I really gave myself over to Jesus and the Course in Miracles. Previously there was so many worries and concerns and planning, constantly planning and striving, and there was anxiety and sadness and all the human emotions that go with the struggle of the human condition. And then, since I've really just stepped back and let the spirit lead the way and really become like just a very sincere, devoted practitioner of Jesus's teachings in the Course, then the way has been made clear. It feels like everything's completely orchestrated. Like you and I, Wanaka, we've been looking for an opportunity to have this talk, and every day it's like, well, we'll wait for a time when you had a little vacation time and look for a spontaneous opening, and that's beautiful because that's how my days seem to go. I have after this talk, there's a woman who's taken like a 8 hours of bus rides to come from Mexico City to where where I'm at, so she can meet me, and she's bringing her little daughter, and she wrote to me just in Espanol, and I used the translator, Google Translator, to understand what she was asking and what she was wanting. But these kind of orchestrated holy encounters like we're having right now are where the joy is. It's where we experience the equality and the love and the deep connection that that is ours forever in God's love and God's grace. So to me, this is what it's all about, to be able to share the Holy Spirit's curriculum of joy with every single encounter, knowing that that's the purpose of the encounter. The purpose is the joy, not trying to get something or trying to make something happen, but just to appreciate the love that we are, and to experience that with every single encounter that we have, so that we can know our own holiness.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we get so attached to the image of who we are or what people are saying we are and so on. That this seems almost impossible many times, right?
Yeah, yeah. When we're attached, it seems like we become then attached to outcomes, to things working out a certain way or turning out a certain way, and then that's just an expectation. If we are attached to the ego or false identity, then we project that to outcomes of the world. We have goals for things in the world, and we become very disappointed when those goals are are not met. We have expectations for people, that they behave a certain way, or they act a certain way, or they treat us a certain way, and then when they don't seem to do that, then we don't really see it's our own attachments and expectations that are bringing us this feeling of upset, and not really what's happening in the world. It's really it's being generated in our mind from the ego.
Yeah, and that's so big step for us to move from thinking it's happening to us to realizing that it's being generated, and nonetheless we remain holy throughout,
Yes,
because we are still projecting the world out into being, right, into our experience. Yeah. And this process of forgiveness that A Course in Miracles speaks of is the only way to respond with love to our projections, right?
yeah, it is. I think the more we feel the love within us, and the love in our hearts, then we withdraw the meaning and the investment that we've had in the projections. And I like how Jesus says that we always either extend the truth, or we project the ego. Or we extend the truth, or we multiply illusions. And I like that reminder from the workbook, because it simplifies it. You know, I even have a friend on some of the online retreats, and she took a quote from something I shared on an online retreat, uh, which was connect, don't project. And she put it on a hat, and she put it on a t-shirt, a simple saying, connect, don't project. And and that reminds me that's the purpose, is always in the connection. It's always connecting with the truth that we are, and the love that we are, and really holding that as our purpose with our brothers and sisters, that we really are meant to connect with them, and feel that connection, and not try to use our brothers and sisters for any other motivation. Not We're not to try to compete with them, or to try to use them for any egoic purpose. We're just simply here to connect. And I like that. That to me is a simple pointer on how to live.
Yeah, very powerful, and also very a perspective that one isn't used to, usually, because we're always projecting these ideas of what we want to get out of something, or this or that, right? To let that go and just let it be and connect rather than project. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah. Well, thank you, Wanako. This has been a very wonderful discussion we've had. I'm glad for your persistence because I've been quite busy, and then I'm glad that you had a little time off so we could find to connect. Even though you're in Germany and I'm down here in Mexico, we found a way.
Yeah, we found a way. I'm in Austria, actually.
Oh, Austria. Okay, I've been there too. That's close. That's a little south there, south of Germany.
Yeah, so happy we made it, right? We've been trying
Yeah,
to connect for a while. Now we've
yeah,
managed. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me in this. And thank you to the listeners for listening and joining in the whole process of forgiveness that we are all involved in. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
please review the podcast wherever you're listening to it so that we get more listeners, so more people hear of this, and share the link to it. Yeah. Thank you
Oh,
so
that's
much, David.
beautiful. Oh, thank you, Monica. What a blessing. And I see
Yeah.
Manuela. She's been here with us. So thank you, Manuela, for joining in.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It was beautiful. Thank you so
Ah,
much.
we love you. We love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Do you do you want to ask something, Manuela, before we end, or
I'm, I'm grateful to listen. That's all. I'm so happy. I have no questions at the moment. I can feel it deep in my heart, and thank you.
Oh,
wonderful?
oh,
Okay. And thank you, everyone, and blessings to everyone. May we all remember our holiness in every moment so that we can live from it. Thank you, David, for sharing all your insights about this.
oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, until next time, blessings.
Yes. Blessings. Thank you, Monica. Lots of love.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.